What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great night. I apologize. I'm a little stuffed up here. Just put in some medicine here in my nasal passages. Trying to get through this one, but going to be behind the camera here again today. But we're here to talk about the Eagles' positions of need during this offseason. We've been talking about it, where the Eagles need to focus on. So that is what we are here to do. And we'll do this again later in the offseason as we add pieces, talking about who we have as free agents, some of the reserve future contract guys, and then we'll look at the depth chart and go through and we'll rank how these guys need to look at the positions here in this offseason, and whether it be free agency, the draft, we'll talk about that. But the free agency series is coming up soon. So I hope you're ready for that. Going to go through each position, look at what the Eagles have, what they need, all that great stuff. So appreciate you taking the time when you're watching this tonight, tomorrow, whenever it may be. Appreciate you hitting that like button, subscribing, all the things you're doing to support the channel. But let's jump right into this. And let's take a look at what the Eagles got going on with free agency here. And, they've got 22 free agents here, 13 on offense, 8 on defense, 1 on special teams here. And, some key depth pieces here, some guys that had starting reps in Quez Watkins, Alameda, obviously DeAndre Swift pictured there, and some other guys, that weren't used, but is what it is. Now, another guy, hopefully not retiring. Love to have Jason Kelsey back on a new deal. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we'll see if Fletch decides to give it another year. Brandon Graham wants to play another year, but beyond that, maybe Bradley for special teams, but I really don't think you need much there. Braden Mann, I would possibly bring him back. Now, the Eagles already busy, and this happens every year, but you see people always freaking out. It's funny. This is just something they're going to do. 90 people have to compete for 69 jobs, 53 on the roster, 16 on the practice squad. So they are, bringing in depth pieces. That's what the reserve future deals are. They're not, these guys that are obviously getting signed in free agency. These are practice squad guys that were either on our team or someone else's. So just getting, ahead of the curve here. So 21 guys have been brought in Togiai this past week, and then the other 20 we talked about the last couple of weeks. So added some pieces. Now let's take a look at the Eagles depth chart, and that's with the free agents and the reserve future guys. So anyone in green here you see is a free agent. Anyone in gray is a reserve future contract guy. So if you're going to lose these guys in green, you don't have them, you see the kind of, gaps that would leave. So the guys in white here are what we do have. So you can see, obviously, a lot of green in the running back position, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line has a few there. So we've definitely got some free agents there, but we've got some younger guys as depth trying to find their way, get some jobs here, but we'll talk about it. But showing you this so you can decide for yourself where you think the areas of need are and how you want to rank them yourself. But right now you're seeing this offense and, you can decide for yourself where they need to go. Now, the defense, you can see I've got the 12 starters here to show you 5-man fronts as well as the nickel corner there. So you can see Fletch and Brandon Graham, and I think you can replace Milton Williams there with Fletch. So I'm okay there. But you see linebacker has a lot of pieces that are free agents. You see in the secondary, a lot of young talent, maybe some veterans that could be going. So a lot to talk about here, but you can see what the defense looks like. Again, the green are free agents. The gray are the reserve future contract guys. So let's talk about the special teams here quickly. Braden Mann, a free agent. So going to need to bring him in, sign him, or you're going to have to grab someone in the draft or free agency, whatever you want to do. But even with Boston Scott, I took him out already. I've got Isaiah Rodgers in there as the kick returner, and he can help you if need be at punt returner. See what happens with Covey there. Number 1 this year as the punt returner. So we'll see if he continues to improve and help as a receiver or what goes down there. But that is the special teams. Now let's jump into this, ladies and gentlemen. Now that you know what the Eagles look like there, let's talk about these positions of need and where I've got them ranked, going through all 11 there that, we need to discuss here. So let's start it off with number 11. We'll work our way up to number 1. But here at quarterback, I have 11 because, Marcus Mariota, yes, he's a free agent. but we've got Jalen Hurts, and I thought Tanner McKee looked really well last year. So for me, you just have to add a veteran in free agency, let them be QB3. Maybe you like some kid in the 6th, 7th round in the draft. You bring somebody in, undrafted kid, let him compete this summer. That's perfectly fine to me. I like Hurts with McKee at number 2. So to me, quarterback is the position I don't think that you really need to be looking into, but we'll talk about all of it in free agency, the draft, every single position, because that's what we do in this sicko season. But quarterbacks to me, feeling pretty good there. And special teams, I've got them at number 10 because I feel pretty good there. The return men, we're set there. I finally feel good for once in my life. Holy hell, let's go. Isaiah Rodgers, Britton Covey holding it down. Now, punter we're going to need, obviously, because, well, we don't have one. So going to want to add one of them. But, looking at Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, both two of the best at their position. So feel pretty good there. Just bring Braden Mann back, and then everything's just fine and dandy. But coming up at number 9, this is, to me, I've heard a lot of people, you need to add here. We need pieces to fit Vic Fangio. Dude, we've been drafting defensive tackles and doing things to fit this multiple scheme defense, guys that need to be versatile, nose tackles, monsters that need to be able to, one gap, two gap, do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I feel pretty good, but defensive tackle, obviously Fletcher Cox is a free agent. So yeah, that blows, but you've got Carter and Davis. You've got Milton Williams here. I'd like to see him extended. Moro Ajomo, Marlon Tuipulotu, great depth pieces. And then the reserve future guys will be in green here. You can see them popping up for the first time here, but Booker and Ellis at the defensive line. So we've got 7 guys there competing. I think you're definitely going to add there. I just don't feel that it is a position of need that you have to worry about right away in free agency. Now, in the draft, it doesn't really matter. If you like somebody, a D tackle, then you take them. You know what I mean? So this is more of how are we going into free agency? Where do we really need to focus on these positions? But to me, defensive tackle is stacked. Carter and Davis are only going to continue to develop and get better. Same for Milton Williams, Ajomo to Pelotu. Very excited. We'll see if Ellis can stay healthy. Booker there as well. But, I feel pretty good there. And then at number 8, that's another one that I feel, offensive line. I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that Jason Kelsey comes back here. But, without him, you still are able to plug Cam Jurgens in at center, and hopefully Tyler Steen can hold it down at right guard. Really bright future for him. So I'm hopeful. But you could see, you also have Fred Johnson as depth there. But beyond that, it's reserve future guys and Clark, Poe, Smith, and then Brett Toth back in the building. But, having Jason Kelsey, Sua Opeta, and Jack Driscoll as free agents. And, I think Roderick Johnson, he's a free agent as well. So you've got a few of those depth pieces that, Roderick Johnson was out the whole season, but Opeta and Driscoll, those are depth pieces that, I would definitely think about bringing 1 or 2 of them back. And I would love to see Kelsey back. So all 3 of those free agent offensive linemen, I wouldn't be against bringing back and, just continuing to grow there. But if you want to look in the draft, looking for some replacements toward the future, not against it, where they can get a couple, maybe a few years under some of these offensive linemen before they go, I would be happy there. But offensive line, I feel pretty good. Now, getting into this top 7, this is where, like, the Eagles need to make a lot of moves, do a lot of things, and we'll keep breaking it down throughout the offseason. But this is where, like, we really, I think, need to be looking to add some pieces. Now, we'll talk about where we need to add those in a second here, but let's jump right into it. Number 7, I've got cornerbacks. And I know a lot of people, feel a certain way, got to go in the first round, got to grab a corner. And look, if there's a stud there they really like at 22, somebody drops or you can trade up. I, again, am not against any of that. So, look, that's a different beast when we talk about the draft. Right now, we're just talking about what we need. And I think, people are forgetting about Isaiah Rodgers. I've been bringing him up, obviously, all of last year. I showed you guys that depth chart. He was suspended, but kept reminding you, this dude, really excited about having him back. And the only free agent we have here is Bradley Roby. Everybody else is back. We have Garner and Goodrich and Mullen as the reserve future guys, but you've got your starters from last year in Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox. We're all kind of thinking Bradbury's, moving on here. So you get Rodgers. I think he's starting caliber. So Rodgers, Slay, Maddox, but you've got McPherson here. You've also got Job and Ricks and Ringo. And Ringo showed promise last year. Ricks had some upside. Job is a special teams ace. So look, you've got some young talent here. So I do like what we have, but I do think they could look to add again if there's a young kid in the draft they like or someone in free agency, whatever. I mean, we'll see what they do. But to me, I don't think that this is dire need to go out and get a corner. So I have the cornerbacks at number 7 there. But number 6, I think, we talked about this a lot last year, how this offense really could have used a tight end 2 to step up. And, Jack Stoll, I like what he's able to do as a blocking guy. He's got soft hands. I like how he's able to catch, but, needs to continue to develop and get better. I thought we needed someone to go with, Stoll needed to be the 3, and, Stoll and Albert O are both free agents. So, right now you have Goddard and Calcaterra. You added Jenkins and Togiai as reserve future guys, but man, Jack Stoll, I would actually think about bringing him back, and I'm not so sure Grant Calcaterra makes the team as that F-type receiving type tight end. And I think you look to add to that room, whether that be in free agency. This draft has a lot of studs that you could pair with Dallas Goedert. So a lot of possibilities there. But I stressed that a lot throughout this season, actually, that I thought we should add to this tight end room. And just goes to show you, if this is at number 6, that I've got a top 5 with some important stuff to talk about here. So yeah, tight end 2, one of the most important things I talked about last year, but it's been dropped out of the top 5 here to start this offseason out. Let's jump into this top 5. Look at the wide receivers here. And man, doing this, it's because I'm looking at what we're losing, what we have, all that stuff, the draft picks, where we need to look. But wide receiver, I've got them in the top 5 because look, yeah, we've got the best duo in the league, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Love them. But what can you do beyond that? Who can, get things going? And obviously last year we had Olamide here, Quez Watkins. We brought in Julio, hopeful to get somebody going. And well, it just didn't happen. I really would like to bring Olamide back. I like him, but we'll see what he decides to do. Now, we added 5 already wide receivers in reserve future contracts in Shaquan Davis, Jacob Harris, Griffin Hebert, Joseph Nada's back, and then Austin Watkins. So 4 new names and then Nada. But Britton Covey's still here under contract. So number 1 punt returner, apparently I can't talk, last year in the league. I would love to see him, getting more involved in the offense, turn into a more receiver. Now, I have no idea if he can, but love to see his development. I love his play. We talked about him when we, signed him as an undrafted kid. I think, he's definitely got a chance to make the team, but I would look to add a true wide receiver 3. Yeah, sure. Britton Covey, step on up. One of these young guys, you guys want to be 4 and 5? Hell yeah, let's go. But I'm going to need a new number 3. And man, there are a lot of guys coming up in free agency in this draft. You don't have to, look high in the draft for this or anything. But if there's a stud young guy there and you're thinking maybe, I don't want to pay both receivers, now you can get AJ Brown and Devontae Smith for the next few years here under contract. I think that's all a possibility, but you never know what is going down or who will become available in the draft, free agency, via trade, whatever it may be. So looking to add to this room, and things open up when you've got great guys like Goddard, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, a great run game. So we'll see if we can get those things. And, a wide receiver 3 would really flourish with guys like Devontae Smith and AJ Brown really, garnering a lot of attention there. So I've got them at number 5. Let me know how you're feeling about this list so far. But at number 4 here, I've got edge rushers, and you can always use edge rushers. Now, I love what we have here. I just think, we saw it last year. It was crazy. And, this is why we have Clinton Hurt here, Fangio here. We need to get, this defense works when you're working it. You saw 2 years ago, first team in NFL history, 4 players over 10 plus sacks, and they were all over 11 plus. And, tied for 3rd in NFL history with 70 sacks. We need to get back to that. And that's a nice rotation. That's how you do that. So Reddick, Sweat, hell yeah, great starters. But you have Brandon Graham. Love to see him back for his final year. Beyond that, you had Nolan Smith. We knew he needed developmental time. People kept asking every week, and we said, hey, look, we talked about this all offseason. If you're not tuning in, that's your fault. We knew the kid wasn't ready yet. We'll hope he is. He's that perfect tweener piece that can fit in here, maybe a little bit of off-ball linebacker this season. We'll see where he can do work. He's got great athleticism. We'll see if he continues to develop. But you've got guys like, Patrick Johnson, who can play special teams, he is one of those tweener guys as well. They all are like that. They fit perfectly into what Vic Fangio, and that's what's so funny when you hear people, we're switching defense. No, man, this is the 4th year in a row. That's why we have players that literally fit what we're trying to do here. So these are the defensive end, outside linebackers. You have Teron Jackson back, and you added Terrell Lewis and then brought Brandon Smith back as well. Now, Lewis and Smith are listed as linebackers, but these guys are those tweeners. They're really not your off-ball stack linebackers you want to see on this defense. Think they're going to try them with the rest of these guys. So you've got 7 guys competing there. Love to see Brandon Graham back to make it 8, and I would love to see them add in the draft, man, and just ensure for the future. We don't know. Reddick, this could be his final year here. So we'll hope that Smith develops, but you got to look to continue winning in the trenches. Trenches is the name of the game. The Eagles are always looking there. So crazy that the O-line and D-line were not in that top 3 here, but I've got some important stuff to talk about in this top 3. So at number 3, give me a damn running back. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we know who we had and who we underutilized, and that was DeAndre Swift. He is now a free agent, gets to choose wherever he wants to go. Boston Scott, Rashad Penny, also free agents. And Penny never got used. We can all talk about it. He just wasn't better than Boston Scott. We talked about that in the offseason. So unfortunate that he lost a step, but I don't know he comes back. But hopeful DeAndre Swift does, because all we've got here is Kenny Gainwell and then Lou Nichols on that reserve future contract. So, yeah, you're going to want to add in free agency, in the draft. And again, I would love to have DeAndre Swift back. We'll see if that's what the Eagles decide to do, but it's up to him. Hopefully they offer him a nice contract, promise him this offense is really going to use the running back all over the place. I do believe they will. So I think we need to get DeAndre Swift back here. I think run it back. Let's go, baby. So that will shore things up, but also look to the future. I would add another back in this draft. A lot of pieces I like, and we'll be breaking that all down, but got the running backs in at number 3. Man, I'd love to be able to talk here. Telling you, I'd love to just not be sick, so my head didn't feel like it was on fire. But let's go to number 2 here, and I've got the safeties here. And look, Justin Evans, we knew he was a talented guy, looked good in the 4 games he played. Then he was out the rest of the season. I don't think he comes back. But beyond that, McCollum looked good, man. Reserve future guy, and some of those corners can play a little safety, but you've got Brown. You traded for Byard. You've got Blankenship. Now, Brown is banged up, so that's unfortunate. McCollum looked good, but you have to add a safety, whether that be via trade, free agency. In the draft is where I would really look. Try to get younger, pair somebody with Sidney Brown for the future. I like Blankenship, but he could be that 3rd safety for these guys. I think that would be perfect for me. So I'm looking for a safety desperately here. Let me know how you feel, because obviously you have figured out who my number 1 is, but let's jump right to it. Linebackers. And we talk about the importance of, all of these positions on defense. Hopefully you guys caught that show about the defense, Vic Fangio, what he's trying to do, the importance of the corners, the nickel corner. I think we're good there, but safeties and linebackers, very important. And I think the reason I have linebacker in front of safety is because we've got some good safeties there. At linebacker, I like Nakobe Dean. And I think, he had 1 year that he was starting. He got hurt, and you hear like the media got people confused. He's hurt all the time. That was literally the only time he's ever been hurt in his career. So unfortunate for him, but you hope, that Vic Fangio, his emphasis on linebackers, he can really get things going with him. But Ben Van Sumeren is the only other guy you have under contract. So Cunningham, Morrow, Shaq Leonard, Sean Bradley, all of those guys are free agents. So you're going to need to add one. And look, we've talked about Frankie Louvu, Patrick Queen, Devin White, Levante David. So many linebackers are out there. Obviously, Trotter Jr. in the draft. I mean, we're going to get into all of it. But I would be looking there. That is somewhere the Eagles definitely need to add this offseason. So number 1 for me there is the linebackers. But you can see my full list there, how I've got the 11 ranked there. Let me know how you feel about my rankings. How do you have yours ranked? You can give me your top 11. You can give me your top 5, top 3, top 7, top 9, whatever is on your mind. I would love to hear it. I'm very excited to see how this team, gets things going this offseason. Already off to a great start with some of these reserve future guys, but you know how he's going to be a busy man. I'll be a busy man as well, trying to pump out as much content as I possibly can for you. But love to hear from you. If you got anything from this, do me a favor, hit that like button. You can always subscribe down below. But until next time, I'm Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all have yourselves a great night. Stay safe out there. And as always, go Birds!